Hello, Facebook fans and YouTube fans of DX Engineering. It is Thursday afternoon here in the Eastern time zone of the USA, eastern part of the USA, and we are at 1830 Zulu on June 27th, 2024, and this is the DX Engineering Manufacturer Showcase. And this is a show where we talk to one of our over 175 different vendors, different manufacturers that we sell here at DX Engineering, which is an incredible number of products. And today we're very pleased to have Kevin, WD6DIH, and he is with 12 volt power. And this is an exciting time for you, Kevin. How are you doing?
Tim, it's been a whirlwind.
So tell us about 12 volt power and then get into your most recent acquisition.
Okay, in a nutshell, a group of us guys got together a little under 2 years ago, and it turned out we were all hams. That wasn't our primary market, but we were supplying emergency vehicles with, wire, cable, fuse blocks. So when you make fire trucks and ambulances, they have to last 10 or 15 years. So we were doing that for almost 2 years. And then it's a market. We also were supplying a lot of the guys that build those rigs are actually ham radio operator technicians, so it's great. So we were doing that. And then I started having discussions the last 6 or 8 months with Mick, who owned the distribution rights for Daiwa and Comet Antenna in North and South America. And so Mick says, I've done this for 30 years. My dad handed it off to me. It's the only job I've really ever had. And he just said, I want to sell. I've got a couple of grandkids. I want to spend some time with the grandkids. And I said, Mick, that's great. The only problem is, he says, I deal with 2 Japanese companies and they only want me to sell to someone that's familiar with, the Japanese. So I said, I can probably help you. Mick and I have been friends 30 years, as I mentioned. So I said, I worked at Yaesu from early 90s until early 2000s as director of sales. So I went back to Japan quite a bit. He floated the idea to them and they agreed. They all flew out, the different companies, and we talked. And from there, it was great. April the 1st of this year, not a joke, but April the 1st was the day the sale went through. So we bought the North and South America Daiwa watt meter and antenna coaxial connector, distribution. And then we also bought all the Comet line as well in North and South America. And so we actually moved our operation 12 volt power into the Comet building because it was bigger. And so,
wow.
And then on top of that, it was crazy. It just we did all that. And at the same time, we're getting ready for Dayton. The timing wasn't good,
Well, that's all right. You handled that well. Let's talk about the product lines, Daiwa and Comet. The Comet line, lots and lots of antennas, but I know there's more than just antennas.
Right, and I've been a ham over 40 years, and I thought I knew it all. But when you buy a company and you start walking through the warehouse and seeing it, it's amazing. So if you look at just the Comet antennas, and it's broken into 3 categories. You have base station antennas, you have mobile antennas, which is by far the most popular, but then you also have a whole category, which I didn't even know about, for the handheld radios. So we have 200 different antennas that we carry and we sell in the United States now, 200 models. And then on top of that, we have the CAA 500 antenna analyzer and a whole variety of other jumpers and connectors. So probably close to 300 SKUs just in the US for Comet alone.
Wow, that is great. And primarily VHF, UHF antennas, but you do have some HF antennas.
We do. And that's, and Tim, what's interesting is that Comet a few years back decided to come out with some HF antennas. The most popular one is a CHA 250, and that is a vertical. It's 22, 23 feet long, but it has no radials. It's for HF from 6 meters all the way down to 80 meters. And so a lot of people buy those now in a market we're getting more and more into, unfortunately, where HOAs are really controlling a lot of things. So what's nice about this antenna, you can temporarily put it up or leave it up. It's just one pole and it works quite well. And for around $300, a little over $300, you can get you on the air on all bands, including 6, which is great.
That is incredible. That is a great value, Kevin. Under $300, and you're on the HF bands with one antenna.
Yeah. Yeah, it is truly amazing. And then when we talked about antennas earlier, HF, and then like I said, the surprise to me was the handhelds. I didn't realize we had all the handheld antennas we have. So most manufacturers, Kenwood, Yaesu, Icom, the big three, they have great antennas. They come, I would say they're middle of the road, but no, you want more gain on your handheld, or let's say you want a shorter antenna. We have all those solutions. So it's kind of amazing when people buy these, they'll buy a more gain antenna than they might even buy a stubby one. So it does improve the radios. The radios out there now that everyone makes are great, but the handhelds really improve when you put a better antenna on them. So
Sure. No, and those who've watched this show know how I feel that the secret sauce is really the antenna. I mean, when it comes down to it, you can spend a lot of money on radio equipment, but it's what you can do in the antenna side. And Kevin, I know a lot of your customers that are using the Comet antennas, they've got restrictions, they've got HOAs, they've got apartments, they've got small backyards. So I know a lot of these things are solutions there. Let's talk about the Daiwa line. Kevin, tell us about the Daiwa line.
Daiwa line's been around a super long time. What their claim to fame is, we carry 6 different watt meters, and they're the ones that pioneered and patented the cross needle technology. So you can see both your forward and reflected power at the same time. The patents recently expired, unfortunately, so other people can make them now, but it's phenomenal. So like, as I mentioned, 6 models that we carry right now. And the reason we do that is like on HF, we have 4 different HF ones. Some of them go to 1,000 watts, some go to 2,000, some even go to 3,000 or more watts. And then we also have a VHF, UHF for dual bands, which after using it, you got to have one of these always to be able to check your match. And then finally, we have one that works on HF and 2 meter, which is probably our most popular model. And that one probably is the best seller because it's the 501 series, because it does both HF and 2 meter, which are the most popular bands.
Having the ability to have a watt meter that does 2 meters and HF, one box, that is very impressive. And so when I think about watt meters and Daiwa, that cross needle technology is really, really good.
It is. It revolutionized the world. It's been copied now. The patents are up, but it is amazing. It is kind of funny when we talk about having the perfect match. I had a guy call me this morning, matter of fact, right before I got him with you, and he was telling me how he's got a new Comet antenna. He loves it. His only concern is on his favorite frequency on 2 meters, it's a 1.2 to 1. And I said, well, what are you using for a meter? And he says, well, I have a dial. I said, okay, good. And he says, I'm just concerned. And I said, look, I know he's a new ham. I said, but anything 1.2 or better, you're fine. You won't notice any difference. So instead of having 100% power radiated, it'll be 99%. So a lot of the new hams, they all want a perfect match, and you try to tell them 1.5 or less, you're fine. But it's like I tried to calm the guy down and said, you've only had your license for a couple months. Your 1.2 is perfect. That's the best you're ever going to get. So,
well, that's got to be gratifying too, Kevin, that you're doing some Elmering to customers. And we all had to learn somewhere, and somebody had to tell us that less than 1.5 to 1 is just fine. But you make some instruments that are very good at being able to see where the VSWR is the lowest and do troubleshooting. What do you think about the future of the Comet and Daiwa lines, Kevin? What sort of products do you think they're working on and will come out with?
Well, and I'll tell you what, Tim, it's a great question. I'll tell you, the future is exciting. So once we purchased in April, the last 3 months, I've been talking a lot to our Japanese factory. And one of the things they're coming up with, already dealing with, and we're going to see that probably towards the end of the year, this year, is when people buy cars nowadays, they're not just like you and I would tell people in the old days where I had a pickup truck, 20 years ago, or a car, it was all metal. Now all the cars are changing. So for mobile installations, we're going to see some big changes. They're not metal anymore. They're aluminum, like the Fords, the Subarus are aluminum. You've got a lot of others composite, and you have plastics. And you can't take a regular antenna and use it on a car because you don't have the ground plane. And that's true with a smaller vehicle like a golf cart or off-road machine or something. So Comet is right now full speed ahead developing a whole new series of antennas called what we call the GI, ground independent. They don't require a ground plane, but they still have high gain. So what we tell people is, if you don't know if you have a metal car or not, just buy these antennas. They're going to be roughly the same price. And we'll have a low, a medium, and a super high gain mobile antenna. And that's what's coming in the future. So you'll see a whole, what we call GI, ground independent antennas coming. And just to prove a point, Tim, we've had people call in all the time that buy mag mounts from Comet, and they put them on their car, and they said they're not sticking on. And we'll send them another one. And I ask them what kind of car it is, and they'll just say, "Oh, it's a Subaru," or "Oh, it's a Ford." Well, they're aluminum on the roof. They're not going to stick. And then so that's the new future we see, is that the ground independent antennas. So it doesn't matter what kind of car you're going to have now or in the future. All of them are getting away from metal roofs and metal, and we won't require a ground plane on the new design. So that's the future that we see.
So these GI designs that are ground independent, what about multiple bands? Do you think they're going to be dual band, tri-band?
Yes, they are. We don't know about tri-band, but I can tell you what, the testing ones that we've been testing, and unfortunately it's a crude mock-up. I can't show you yet, but I had it on my truck. It works great. The match was perfect. It didn't matter if I put it on aluminum or metal or even a fiberglass body. It worked quite well. And I think that's really what the future is going to be with these antennas, is the people, they won't need to know, but it is definitely dual band. And I'll tell you what, we got our first one in, antenna in, that we just started carrying, and it's actually for GMRS. And so what's nice about that one, I'm trying to think of the model number, but it is a dual band, ground independent, and it's cut at 465 for GMRS, but it's also cut on the VHF at 151. Not going to help the hams, but it's for mirrors. So now a lot of the off-road crowns, overland, we have an antenna for them that will allow them to do, the stuff non-ham. And we think that's going to be a good seller.
Boy, these are exciting times, and it's really great to hear that, Comet is going to be out in the forefront of these ground independent antennas. And we're really looking forward to hearing more about that as time goes on. And we certainly can't wait to start selling those antennas out here at DX Engineering as well. And but Kevin, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. This has been very, very informative. And I know our customers are excited about your acquisition, and you breathe new life into this thing. And so Comet and Daiwa are in good hands here in North and South America.
I appreciate it. We wanted to continue the legacy the last 30 years, and we're going to do that. We're going to continue on like the previous owner did, and maybe the only difference might be attend twice as many shows. So we'll hopefully get to see everyone out there in person soon. That
sounds great. Well, Kevin, thanks again. We'll have you on soon. You get one of those ground independent antennas all mocked up, and we want to have you back on the show, okay?
Tim, I look forward to it. 73.
All right. 73 to you, Kevin. And thanks to all of you for watching today on the DX Engineering Manufacturer Showcase. Come back tomorrow, the weekend special. We have a special guest. It's Ward Silver, N0AX. Until then, 73 from DX Engineering.